This is Super SaaS Bros with Corey and Jade. Let's jump in.
So today, reading a bunch of stuff in the morning
Okay.
on TechCrunch. First of all, before I even go into that,
Yeah.
where do you get your tech news, your local news? How do you
So-
get caught up on things?
Yeah, so this is super important to me now because we're in the space, so I'm trying to keep up to date as often as I possibly can. So I've
Okay.
signed up for a couple newsletters so that I get emails automatically, and then I'll review the daily and then sometimes just like a weekly recap of these newsletters. So the two that I currently get most of my stuff from, one of them is called the Rundown AI.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the other one, what's this one called? Rundown AI and Superhuman is the other one.
Superhuman, like the mailing app?
No,
Or is it completely different?
no, it's completely different. So it's
Okay.
Superhuman is just the name of this
Of the
guy,
newsletter?
this newsletter. Yeah, Zane Khan is the guy that writes the newsletter.
Oh,
So those two are the ones that I get most of my AI news from.
okay.
Because beyond that, it just gets repetitive. Everyone else just spews the same news, and then I think social media too. There's a couple like AI like accounts that I follow that as they pop up, I'll see it. So, how about
So-
you? Where do you get most of your stuff from?
I'll go to TechCrunch. I usually read on TechCrunch a lot. Twitter is usually where I get a lot of my news.
You
I
love
just feel
Twitter,
like yeah, I do love Twitter. But TechCrunch is, I find there's some articles on there that just because of my feed on Twitter, I don't really get the stuff that TechCrunch posts. For instance, I found out that Katy Perry's going to space, and I'm like,
What?
whoa, that's sick.
Sorry,
Yeah,
is she
so,
taking like one of those like $1 million SpaceX flights?
yeah, she is.
Is
Yeah,
she?
her and like a couple other people. I think it's Blue Origin, so they do like
Okay.
it's $150,000 deposit, fully refundable, and it just gets the whole like process expedited. So it's like her and a couple other people that are going into space. It's like a 15-minute trip.
I
So
would
it's like,
still do it.
oh, fuck yeah, 100%, 1000%.
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
But yeah, I was reading some stuff on TechCrunch this morning. I read this article of these two kids that came out with AI night vision from on your phone. So they built an app where it uses the camera, the iPhone camera,
Yeah.
but it uses AI to basically leverage the camera as night vision. And now like the US military is going bananas and they're like, holy shit, what the hell's going on with this? And they're like super inquisitive and trying to figure out like what's going on with their company. I think they're investing. It's like I think it's a YC back company too. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's Twitter and TechCrunch.
Cool. And that's
Yeah.
pretty cool technology. So now I don't need night vision goggles. I just need my phone.
Yeah, I think sounds like it. Why do you have night vision goggles on stand, like ready to use, just in case?
No,
Sienna's
but
running through the night. You got to go and find her.
but man, I don't know if you remember what was it called? Mastermind Toys. Do you remember that? That I used to go
Totally.
there and they used to have all the spy shit, and I used to want to buy all that stuff. So
Were you a
I
big
don't know.
spy nerd?
yeah, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got the
I loved it.
walkie-talkies.
Yeah, I loved all the spy stuff. I would get like all these lasers, and I would set stuff up in like the doors so that when people like cross this like invisible laser, it would trip an alarm or something like that. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think my parents used to find it very annoying that I
Yeah.
would just set up all this stuff. So yeah, night vision goggles were on my radar, and now I just use a
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
Although night vision goggles still look cool. When I
Yeah.
have some F money, I'll
Just go and drop it on some night vision goggles.
why not? Yeah,
Well, yeah, there you go. Dude, what about paintball in the dark with night vision goggles?
that's so
Awesome.
cool. I also used to be a paintball nerd.
I know you were.
Yeah, I had a
I saw
whole
it,
like
yeah.
assault rifle setup thing with a bunch of scopes and all that. That would be so sick.
Yeah.
How dumb would it be though if you just had an attachment for like your phone on your gun
Oh,
instead?
God.
That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
literally being able to play paintball at a huge discount because of everything that AI can support you with now.
That's so crazy though. I'm still not fathoming how AI is like changing the mechanics or using the mechanics of your phone to produce night vision. That
Yeah.
to me, that's just wild. Like I don't quite understand how it's actually doing that.
Yeah.
I might dive deeper into that one because I want to understand that a bit more.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously using the current functionality that already exists within the phone and the camera app and the camera mechanics itself. It's just using it differently. Now I just wonder why Apple wouldn't have said, yeah, this is possible without this technology. Like, clearly it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I have no idea how
What's
it
the
works.
name? Do you have the name of the
Yeah.
company?
Deep Night.
Deep Night?
Yeah. Also, it's a
Okay.
sick name.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
take a look at that.
Yeah. I was talking to my dad yesterday. So
Yeah.
my dad messages me. And usually, first of all, my dad never messages me. So when he messages me, I'm thinking
You're
like,
like,
whoa,
whoa.
what the hell's going on? Something's going on. So he calls me and I'm like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And he's like, dude, I'm just so sick and tired of these streaming services just charging me for getting rid of ads, and then I gotta pay an extra premium on top of this tier, and then like it's for Amazon and Netflix. And so he just went off, and I'm listening to him for half an hour, just like being a grumpy old man. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, well, I think if I just like tell you this problem, like you guys can just go off and just build it and build your own Netflix. Like this content has to live somewhere, so can't you just go and grab these movies from some server and just like put it on your own site and just charge it for cheap? And I'm like, well, there's like 1, 2, 3 movies, and there's like these Android boxes that you buy. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some pirated versions of these things out there that you can go and grab, but I don't think that's how it works, man. I think there's a big like licensing deals that kind of happen between Netflix and whoever they're, licensing the movies from. Anyways,
Yeah.
he went on this whole rant, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, just being the guy that I am, I usually just like to listen to ideas and problems to see if there is something there that
Mm.
we could potentially build. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, it's an extra $3 a month. It's a freaking cup of coffee. Just you don't want ads, doesn't pay
So,
the $3, or
yeah,
you know what, just deal with the ads.
I have two perspectives on this. One is just, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna find a way to make so much money that I don't really care
Yeah.
about these like smaller subscriptions. But two, I was laughing as you were saying all this because my brother built this.
Okay.
It's called, okay, I have to be careful here because it is obviously not that legal because
Sure.
of all the licenses and stuff like that. A lot of
Okay.
torrented shit,
Yeah.
but it's called The Box.
Okay.
And whenever something goes off of Netflix or off of Disney Plus or whatever, it's disappearing because they haven't paid for the license to continue or whatever.
Yeah.
We just grab it and we put it on there, and we all
Mhm.
have an account for it.
Nice.
And it's just every show and movie that we love and want, and it's on there, and he hosts it on his own server, and it's just a little internal Netflix streaming service that we have for ourselves that costs nothing.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Your
So
brother.
I'll have to maybe share that with you. We'll make an account, but I won't
Oh,
give too much
for sure.
information because the this is the dark side of development. So
This is the dark side of what we do. Yeah. We find problems and we build illegal solutions for it.
yeah, yeah. So and it's hilarious because if you go on it too, like it's pretty well done,
Is
and
it?
yeah, like it will show like, oh, recently added, so stuff that he recently added as well. It will have the ratings of like these
What a
movies. It
savage.
will tell you like who is in it and like all this like
That's
description stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So he did a good job
Oh my god.
doing it. So
I
I'm
gotta
pretty
check.
sure it's running on an old laptop that I used to have it, and he just converted into just purely being a server. Yeah, something like that. Either that or he bought like a little Ruby server thingy and did something. I don't know. It's
There you
running
go.
and I use it, so
There
that's
you go.
yeah. So anyways, I was laughing, so I was like, maybe you gotta share that with your dad because
Oh,
just
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
I'd share with him.
And also, sorry, speaking of this, really stupid. Uh, I hate how Netflix is going to like live TV.
Live TV. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so they run so WWE. So Rochelle and her family are all big on WWE,
Yeah.
and it got moved. Raw and SmackDown got moved onto Netflix, and
Okay.
Netflix has been toying with like live TV. It's always been a streaming service, right?
Right.
But now they're toying with like live streaming
Mhm.
instead, which I find very weird. I'm like, I want to say just like stick in your lane.
Mhm.
There's innovating, but then this is just like them wanting to produce more revenue.
Right.
But now I'm like, now you're just becoming a regular TV provider. You know what
They
I
are.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Like I'm like the ads are just commercials,
Hmm.
and the live streaming is just live TV. Like it's just like you're turning into what you moved away from,
Well,
right?
yeah. So they started off. You remember the Redbox vending machines?
The red box. I feel like I remember them.
I think it was called Redbox.
Yes,
Anyway,
yes, I remember this. Were they in grocery stores and stuff? They were,
grocery
right?
stores. They were in
Yeah.
grocery stores. They were in like Rogers when you go rent a movie. I don't think
Yes.
they were in Blockbuster, but they were in Rogers for sure. They may have been in grocery stores,
Yeah.
and that's how they started. It was like $2 for a rental or whatever, and you go and you put it back. And then I remember when their subscription was like $2 a month. So first of all, fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but Netflix is older than Google. And when I found that out, I was like blown away. It's like, holy
Netflix
shit.
is older than Google?
Yeah.
I did not know. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So they're also that really speaks to the fact of like be persistent, don't give up type of thing. But anyways, I remember when their subscriptions were like $2 a month, and the movies that they had on there were absolute garbage, and nobody would pay for it. But it was so cheap, and you would get things on demand that I was like, okay, maybe we can try it out. I can't remember what their first big licensing deal was, but I do remember when they first got Friends on Netflix, which really blew them up. I think it was $100 million for a year of just Friends
Yeah,
on
I
Netflix.
remember this.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
That's insane. It's
super
insane.
cool stuff.
It is cool. It is cool. But so, anyways, it's interesting to see where they're gonna go with all this live streaming and live TV stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, we'll see. They even do some UFC fights now
they
too.
did. Yeah,
Um,
they did the Jake Paul fight. You know,
and it was the quality was garbage, by the way.
it was
Just so
garbage.
you know.
Yeah, they
Which, if
overloaded all
anyone's,
the
have you watched
footage.
Silicon Valley before?
Yes, I have.
Do you remember when Nucleus was coming up and they had a UFC fight powered by Nucleus, and then the whole streaming was like complete garbage and it like completely froze up and trash? Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
Early seasons when
Okay,
Hooli, right?
maybe I didn't see this episode.
Oh,
Very
okay. Maybe
brief.
you got to go watch it though. So they developed this like compression technology that they're
Okay.
trying to compete with the main character in the show.
Okay.
And Hooli is like this big corporation, so they have all these resources and all this stuff to be able to produce this technology.
Yeah.
And in order to basically shove down in the main character's face that, hey, my company is better than yours and it's the same technology, they said, we're going to live stream this huge UFC fight
Yeah.
powered by Hooli using its
Yeah.
compression technology to bring like 4K video. And it just completely like starts like crashing and
Crashing.
pausing and lagging. And then the CEO has like a huge fit. And I was like, this is how how Netflix must have felt when they were running the Jake Paul fight,
Jake
because
Paul
that's
fight.
exactly what happened. It
Yeah.
was so bad.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
bad. It was horrible.
Anyways, go rewatch Silicon Valley because I'm watching it again right now. That show's hilarious. Yeah,
It is hilarious.
good stuff. Yo, okay. So a couple other like more geeky, nerdy news around AI. So Cloud 3.7 Sonnet
Yeah.
is now out.
Yes.
I'm interested because you use Cursor, right?
Yes.
So now have you noticed in Cursor at the bottom and the right they have the Claude like 3.7 Sonnet
Yep.
there.
Yep.
So what do you think? And like I don't know if you've tried it yet, if you feel like it's useful, is it cool? Because right now it looks like it apparently blows out everything else out of the water, which by the
Yeah.
way, I have some thoughts around how they measure all this stuff.
Okay.
But I wanted to get your thoughts first on it.
I would say the quality of the outputs from like Cloud 3.5 has already been, or 3.5 Sonnet has already been really good.
Yeah.
I think there's like 3.7 Sonnet and then 3.7 Sonnet Thinking, which I
Right.
think it's just competing with O3 Reasoning and
Yeah.
O3 Mini Reasoning. But I think, so I have played with it. Personally, with code, I haven't really seen, in terms of quality, I haven't really seen much of a difference, at least with what I'm doing.
Okay. Fair.
What I am interested in is going to be like the deep research part and being
Yeah.
able to go out on the web, gather a bunch of resources, and being able to construct some sort of reasoning, predictive thinking, critical thinking on external resources, as
Right.
opposed to just generating content without going out on the web. Does that make sense?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that stuff will be pretty cool. It
Yeah.
will be pretty cool.
Yeah. I haven't tried. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't tried it, and I have tried some of the reasoning models. I haven't done like the deep research on anything yet, but I feel like I want to do my own testing on it all too.
So with the deep research, or so not the deep research, the reasoning stuff, especially
Yes.
with what is it, 01 or 03? I'm like getting this. They're all alphabet soup now. I swear to God.
O one does the reasoning.
01 does the reasoning. Yeah, so 03 mini does the reasoning, fast advanced reasoning, and then 01 does advanced reasoning.
Correct.
But anyways, so I've been using 01 when I was doing some MCP stuff to help me with that.
Okay.
And it was not outputting good things. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, it wasn't. And I just think it's just because there's just not enough information about it yet. So when I was trying to build it, which took me like 3 weeks to really build an NCP client and server, I was going on the web, reading their docs, using O1, and you would think like it should take you a day, maybe a couple days to figure it out, especially if you have an advanced reasoning model. But the stuff that it was outputting, it just like the things weren't connecting. It wasn't being able to talk to each other, wasn't able to relay data. Yeah, I'm very curious on how that is going to just advance, especially when new things come out and there's not as much documentation, conversations about it on the web, and it just has to use its own reasoning on how to do it. That is, a lot more accurate than it is now.
Yeah.
That's my experience with it.
What I like, which is pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure the 3.7 Sonnet as well actually shows it, but it as it's doing its reasoning, it actually tells it, you can see what it's thinking and like the process it's going to. And I
That's right.
believe now 3.7 Sonnet like actually shows its work. It will complete. I think that's what it. I have to reread it again, but I'm pretty sure that it will actually show its work, so
Sweet.
you can actually validate it. Because right now, a lot of times you're just getting an output, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to go validate it. But now it's here. It's, hey, this is how I got to this answer. This is the
Right.
thought process I went to,
Right.
which might be cool because now you can start doing some more fine tuning of a model potentially based on the way it's thinking. You can be like, hey, when you went to go do this, don't think about it this way. Think about it this way instead. And it's, oh, okay, I'll remember that for next time or something like that.
Right. So it's actually, I really want to talk about this. So fine tuning. I haven't heard about fine tuning in months because,
Okay.
and my theory is just because context windows, leveraging reg, being able to have like Gemini 2.0 Ultra, whatever just came out. I think it's at 2 million input tokens. So
Right.
I don't know. I'm trying to really come up with a really good example of fine tuning a model versus just giving it a bunch of dynamic context. Because you can give it so much context that why would I ever want to fine tune it? You know what I mean?
True. Oh,
Because
because partially it can just do it itself, right?
well, so like in the software world, you always want to keep things flexible, extensible, and dynamic. So when you fine tune something, in my opinion, it's almost counterintuitive. It's like what you were taught almost not to do, right? Unless you have a really specific use case that it's only going to be specific to this. But then why would you ever want to pigeonhole yourself into that when you can just give it dynamic context, feed it 2 million tokens, which is, I can't remember the number of pages it was, but they did like this calculation behind it. And it'd be like thousands and thousands of research pages that you can just dump into it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I? And then it just knows that in real time and then forgets about it, right? So why would I ever want to fine tune a model and then only have it work and do an operation in this specific way when I can just tell it once, here's the context, here's everything you know, here's how I want you to output it, it does it, and then if you need the process to happen again, you can do it again. But if you ever need to do something else,
Yeah.
then it's not pigeonholed to only be fine-tuned in that way.
Interesting. So if it was to produce false information or wrong information, then it's mostly just around like the context you're giving it rather than its ability to produce a correct output.
Oh, you can definitely give it can definitely start to hallucinate, right? It's like giving you false information back.
Yeah.
But I like my whole point of this whole thing is I don't want to pigeonhole myself into my model acting a specific way when I can have it act a specific way in a specific state and time, and then I don't need to have it act a specific way in a different state of time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, why would I only want a Spanish tutor when I can have a tutor of everything, essentially?
True. True. I mean, the only way you can think about it is it's the same reason why a lot of businesses niche down, right? Is the specificity of it producing a better quality output
Yeah.
than something that creates outputs for multiple things, right?
Totally depth versus breadth. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only thing. But in this case, I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe you're arguing as well that AI is capable of creating that depth with the breadth, right?
That's exactly what I'm arguing. Yeah.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah.
point, unless for whatever reason it needs more than 2 million tokens, but
Yep.
even with vector databases now and RAG, I don't know. But I do think it's a great selling point. Like talking to small businesses and saying, we fine tune this model to work for dealerships specifically, they're
Right.
going to be like, oh, great. Like, this is a dealership specific AI model. I'm never going to go and use a chat GPT again because
Right.
that's the jack of all trades. This is the master of dealerships.
Right.
So I think it's a great selling point. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, we can fine tune it, right? In a sense, give it a bunch of dynamic context, right? Create a vector database with a bunch of information about dealerships, have that being pulled in real time, and does the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree with you on that too. Maybe there is no reason then to fine tune it, but just more of like you said, the dynamic context maybe can be specific in the moment, but then you could potentially go use that model for, in this case, like for dealerships, but then go use it somewhere else for like medical
Totally.
practices or whatever, right?
Totally. Totally.
Cool. I like that. Yo, something really interesting I saw part of my newsletters that I'm reading. Did you
Okay.
hear this like gibberlink?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's when two AIs are talking to each other.
Yes, so you have the AI, but then they change their way of communicating or something. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
it sounds like some wild dial-up like tonalities, but it's cool. Yeah, because at first they're just talking like in their native languages. In this case, it was English, right? And they both realize that like, oh, they're like, you're an AI agent, I'm an AI agent. Do you want to switch to Gibberlink so that
Yes.
we can do things faster? And
Dude,
it was like, yeah, it did it.
did you see? Was it you that sent me the reel, or maybe it was someone else? Actually think it was Braden that sent it to me. But yeah, you have two voice AI agents put them side by side,
Yeah,
and they just yeah, I saw that. I was like, okay, we're onto something here. Here we
because
go.
we're probably gonna have a lot more AI to AI conversations as
I,
you hire more digital employees, more AI agents, right? So they're probably going to be talking to each other like a ton. Like this is
oh,
probably going to be
dude.
more common. So if they can communicate in this like Gibberlink is just one example of this like language being produced,
Hmm.
but I think I was reading is it reduces like the consumption, like the data consumption required by 80%,
Oh, I
and it's
believe
so
it.
much quicker,
Oh, I
right?
believe it. 100%. Yeah. I think it's like super interesting. And I think there's going to be more AI agents than humans. Like, almost certain that's probably what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
then being able to just have them communicate with each other, the latency at that point just becomes next to none.
So cool. So I saw
Hmm.
that and I was like, whoa, what kind of alien futuristic shit is this? It's just and they're like doing all this stuff. I was like, that's wild.
I did see that.
I
It's
think it was
really
out of
cool.
a hackathon too that this came out of.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
So I don't know how long this
24
hackathon was,
hour.
but yeah. So someone they did this and I was like, that's pretty crazy. So anyways, that
Yes.
was just something I saw and I was like, that's kind of cool. Now we won't ever really have to hear shit like this. Like this will all just be happening in like the back. Anyways, something still pretty cool. So in terms of for someone that's just very interested in like business, if this can reduce like consumption costs,
Hmm.
like to run all this,
Hmm.
that's awesome, right? Now the thing is, you only benefit when it is an AI to AI conversing,
Right.
right? So there's no way to predictably predict when you are going to reduce your cost on this unless you know that you're always going to talk to an AI. It just like you get to benefit from it if your AI agent does talk to another AI agent, but if they don't for whatever reason, then you don't benefit from it.
Dude, it's an R2D2 C3PO situation, is what it is. It sounds just like R2D2 just doing its thing.
It really does. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see with these humanoids coming out and like robotics becoming more and more advanced. There's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be an R2D2 that's gonna be built like very quickly with these AI agents, and it's gonna be able to open up a door that has its own AI agent. Just door opens like sick. It's
Well, and I wonder too if you can just change the sounds and still maybe talking like gibberlink in its undertone, but like what you hear sounds maybe like R2D2 or whatever you want it to sound like.
yeah,
I don't know.
just change what you hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Anyways, there's some super cool stuff. I saw that and I was like, that is wild.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I'll send you the reel that Brand sent me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take a look. Because like the whole thing too is like, voice AI agents are like a huge thing right now. I wonder
Yeah.
how this is gonna change that too, right?
Well, what are your thoughts on AI agents when inside a specific field that has to deal with like empathy and
Mm.
specific tonalities, and the caller is relaying sensitive information?
Interesting. This kind of goes back to the conversation that we had around a therapist, right? Acting
Yeah.
as like an AI therapist almost. This would be a
Yeah.
good example of someone talking like with very sensitive information, very personal stuff. They require some level of empathy or understanding. So how do I feel about AI doing that?
Yeah.
Or yeah, I think it's tough right now. I still feel like there's very few voice AI agents that I feel like are well done. I've listened to tons and they still sound very robotic, I
Hmm.
will say. You can tell. There's very few that I've done demos on that I'm like, yeah, that was pretty much as close to a human as you can get. Yeah, I think if it can sound like a human, I don't really care personally. If it's gonna, and I think you mentioned this last time too, like if it does what I need it to do, if I need empathy, it's providing empathy. If I need understanding or advice or suggestions and it's doing that, then it's doing that in the right tonality and everything like that. Great.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet though at scale. Like, not right now. Not that I've seen and like demoed and tested out right now. So at the moment, I feel like a lot of people that are in fields that are taking in sensitive information and require talking to, we'll call it just patients in general, um, in a certain tonality. Like I think it's still humans that are running that show. Um, but yeah, I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I think we'll never be able to get away with or moving away from the human touch. I think we're going to try as best as we possibly can.
Yeah.
But I've seen, especially in the legal space, people are calling in because of a sexual abuse claim, for
Right.
instance.
Yep.
They're going to want to speak to a human. Any sort of sensitive information that they have become a victim to,
Yep.
I believe that we will never be able to be in a world where we're going to report this stuff to an AI. I just, at the very least, like human beings, we thrive being around each other.
Mm.
We're comfortable being around each other. We want to be around each other. We want other
Yeah.
people to listen to us, to be able to relate to us.
Yep.
Just like that internal feeling. And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where AI will be able to replace that.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit on what I was saying because I had some other thoughts popping up as you were talking. Um, so it depends who it is, because for instance, if it's just like a receptionist at a medical clinic or a therapist clinic or something like that's taking in a patient, and sometimes they talk a little bit in depth, even with a receptionist, not even a therapist yet. And I know because my mom was in this position and she worked in this position and she would deal with a bunch of army people calling in.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, to me, it might be okay if an AI did that. But when it comes to actually being a therapist and a doctor, I just realized I'm like, hey, we're a very structured society that requires degrees and licenses and all this stuff. And are we going to argue now that this AI needs to go get a degree in
Dude,
certain things?
yeah,
Or,
absolutely. You
yeah.
know what? I've actually never thought about this. Like, how is that gonna work? Oh my goodness.
Or even like this applies to so many things, man. As a software developer, people go to school to become a software dev, but people don't necessarily need a certification like yes, there's certifications and certain types of developments and practices and stuff like that. But we're talking doctors. They're going to med school, you're going to law school, or you're going to all this stuff. We're going to require AI to be licensed or to have some sort of certification. Is this a whole industry on its own too? Certifying AI in certain degrees?
Oh my God. I'm like blown away right now with your thought
Yeah.
process. I think this is really cool. I think we should save this for the next podcast. I think I really want to talk about this because this is like I have so many thoughts right now. And we're already at like what are we at? I don't even know, 30 minutes?
Thank you for listening to another episode of Super SaaS Pros with Corey and Jade. We'll see you next time.